Bootloaders. Basically, Linux has two types of bootloaders, Grub and LILO. Before Red Hat Linux can run, it must be loaded into memory by a special program called bootloader. A bootloader usually exists on system's primary hard drive and has the sole responsibility of loading the Linux kernel with its required file, or in some cases other operating system, into memory. The first bootloader is Grub. GNU Grand Unified Bootloader is a program which enables the user to select which install operating system or kernel to load at a system boot time. It also allows the user to pass argument to the kernel. Grub loads itself into memory with different stages. The stage 1 or primary bootloader is read into memory by the BIOS from the MBR. The primary bootloader exists on less than 512 bytes of disk space and within the MBR, and it's capable of loading either the stage 1.5 or stage 2 bootloader. The stage 1.5 bootloader is read into memory by the stage 1 bootloader, and if necessary some hardware requirement or intermediate steps to get the stage 2 bootloader, and this is sometimes true when the boot partition is above the 102 of cylinder head of the hard drive or when using LBM mode. The stage 1.5 bootloader is found either on the boot partition or on a small part of MBR and the boot partition. Third stage is second stage 2 or secondary bootloader is read into memory, and the secondary bootloader display the Grub menu and the command environment. This interface allows you to select which operating systems or Linux kernel to boot, pass the argument to the kernel, or look at the system parameters such is available RAM. Next, the secondary bootloader read the operating system or kernel and INTRD into memory. Once the Grub determines which operating system to start, and it load it into memory and transfer the control of machine to operating system. The method used to bootloader Linux is called the direct loading method because the bootloader loads the operating system directly. Next topic is feature of Grub. Now we will understand some feature of the Grub. The first, the Grub provided true command-based pre-OS environment on x86 machine, and this affords the user. The Grub supports the logical block addressing LBM mode, and the LBA plays the addressing conversions used to enlace file in the hard drive firmware and is used on many ID and SCSI hard drive. Grub can read the extended 2 partition, and this functionality allows the Grub to access its configuration file. The configuration file stored in boot partition. Now we will understand some feature of Grub. Grub provides a true command-based pre-OS environment on x86 machine, and this affords the user maximum flexibility in loading operating system. Second, Grub supports a logical block addressing, means LBA mode. LBA plays the addressing conversions used to find file in the hard drive firmware and is used on many ID and all SCSI hard devices. And third is Grub can read the extended 2 partitions. This functionality allows the Grub to access its configuration file. The Grub configuration file stored in the boot partition in Grub directory. The configuration file name is grub.conf. Every time the system boots, eliminating the need for user to write a new version of the first stage bootloader to MBR where configuration changes are made. Open on Linux system, just open the terminal and open the grub.conf file with VI editor. Just see the command on screen. Here grub.conf file, see on terminal. Now next Now we will understand installing Grub. How to install the Grub? If Grub was not installed during the Red Hat Linux installation process, it can be installed afterward. Once installed, it automatically become the default bootloader. Before installing Grub, make sure to use the latest Grub package available or use the Grub package information from the Red Hat Linux installation CD-ROM. Once the Grub package is installed, open a root shell prompt and run the command /sbin/grub install and then type the location, where location is the location that Grub stage 1 bootloader should be installed. The following command install the Grub to MBR of the master ID device on primary ID /sbin/grub-install /dev/hda. Next, Grub menu configuration file. The configuration file boot/grub/grub.conf, which is used to create the list of operating system to boot in Grub menu interface, essentially allow the user to select the preset group of command to execute. The file located at the /boot/grub/grub.conf file on Linux system. Open this file in terminal with VI editor. See on terminal. Here you can see the grub.conf file. In the file you can see the list of commands and arguments. The first is the color. Here you set the color with normal color or selected color. Allow specific color to be used in the menu where two colors are configured as the foreground and background. Use a simple color name such as red, black. Second is the default and title name. The default entry title name that will be loaded if the menu interface timeout. Open on Linux system, just open the terminal and open the grub.conf file. Just see the default information on file. Next, fall back and type the title name. If you use the entry title name to try if first attempt to file. Second, hidden menu. If used to prevent the Grub menu interface from being displayed, loading the default entry when the timeout period expires. The user can see the standard Grub menu by pressing the escape key. The hidden menu commands see on the file. Next, the password and enter the password if used to prevent the user who does not know the password from editing the entry for this menu option. Optionally, it is possible to use the Grub package information from the Red Hat Linux installation CD-ROM. Once the Grub package is installed, open a root shell prompt and run the command /sbin/grub install and then type the location, where location is the location that Grub stage 1 bootloader should be installed. The following command install the Grub to MBR of the master ID device on primary ID /sbin/grub-install /dev/hda. Next, Grub menu configuration file. The configuration file boot/grub/grub.conf, which is used to create the list of operating system to boot in Grub menu interface, essentially allow the user to select the preset group of command to execute. The file located at the /boot/grub/grub.conf file on Linux system. Open this file in terminal with VI editor. See on terminal. Here you can see the grub.conf file. In the file you can see the list of commands and arguments. The first is the color. Here you set the color with normal color or selected color. Allow specific color to be used in the menu where two colors are configured as the foreground and